Hello, I'm Father John Taylor. Now, people often ask me, why am I a priest? What keeps me going? Where do I get my drive from? And they actually believe that all a priest is, he reads one little book and he sits there every night, page after page after page, thinking, ooh, that's nice. No, that's not for me. For me, the greatest part about being a priest is the bonds you get with people. Now, over the years, I've conducted many funerals and weddings and baptisms, and I feel it's a privilege and an honour to meet people and families, because if you imagine a family's just lost their beloved person, and then I walk in, most of the time as a stranger, and then as you start, first thing I always do, I ask to see a photograph of the person. So it's always nice to put a face to a name. And then you hear about the person's lives, what they did, the love their family had for them. And so you actually then walk away with that feeling that you knew them and that you cared for them. But I'd like to share with you two stories. One of a person during World War II, which stuck in my mind, and this was quite a few years ago, and the other one of a person which I personally knew for over 30 years. Now, the World War II one were three young men. There was only about 18 at the time of World War II, and there was fighting in France, and they made a pact to themselves, because they're all religious, that if one of them should die on enemy lines, to get the body to the priest for the last rites. And one of their friends did die. And so that night, two of the men went back into enemy territory, grabbed their friend's body, carried him across the fields into a church for the priest to deliver the last rites. And then they took the body back to place him back where he was, because that apparently is following the orders that they were given. Now that to me shows love, courage and devotion to not only to a belief which they had to God, but also a pact between friendship. And even now to know that story sends goosebumps down my back. Now the other one I'd like to share with you, I only buried my friend last week actually, and he to me it was always more like a Del Boy character. I don't know if you know Only Fools and Horses, but in England it's a comedy show where there was like a salesman, a little bit close to the edge. Some call maybe criminal, others would call it like more of a jolly. Now when he was a young lad, I won't say the names out of respect to the families, but when he was a young lad, he used to live in London, and he used to collect empty bottles, and then him and his friends used to fill up these bottles with Thames water, you know, the seawater from the Thames, and they used to sell it to tourists. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, they used to all smoke in those days, and they used to get the other bottles, and they used to, with their navy cut cigarettes, they used to blow the smoke in the empty bottles and then label them as London smog. And another story about them, they used to stand there on London Bridge and Tower Bridge with a camera, and they used to sell snapshots and portraits of American tourists, and they used to take a deposit, name and address. It was only a small deposit, and they used to promise to forward on all the photos. And the reason they only took a small deposit is because people were more happily to part with their money. But what they forgot to tell them was that they never put in any film. So they just used to stand there clicking away all the time, these toys, and they thought they were brilliant, and they never got their photos. Now, you always think to yourself that these people which break the law will get away with it. Now, he was caught, and he's claim to fame was that him and his friend were the only two people to have escaped from Canterbury prison when they were young. This was in the 70s. As they escaped, one of his friends turned around and said to him, "Look, we're being shot at by the police." And he said, "Don't be so stupid, the police in this country don't shoot you." But they did, and his friend suddenly fell down, and as his friend's holding on to his side after being shot, he said, "Run, keep on running." And he said, "No chance." So he knelt by his friend, rubbed some of the blood from his shirt and rubbed it over his face. So as soon as they were caught, they were taken to the hospital. And when he was at the hospital, they examined him and they go, "There's nothing wrong with you, you haven't been touched." And he says, "No, but is there any chance of a cup of tea before they send me back to finish my sentence?" Now, these little stories are part of what being a priest is. There are so many, many wonderful stories where I meet proper people that had adventure, and that adventure is called life. Now, once again, I hope you enjoyed my video. Please remember to subscribe, click like, and ring that bell. Thank you.